one level I think it's a good thing, at another level I have some problems with it. Why do I say it's a good thing? Because it is better that whatever problems there were, whatever personality clashes there were, do not take place within the state apparatus. Because then the public doesn't know about it, there's no transparency, and you could have a lot of turmoil in the system, you could have explosions almost in the system. I'm much happier with this situation where the issues have been brought out into the political arena, into the electoral arena, and the people, the citizens, as voters, have a chance to make the final decision. So that's a good thing, it's a healthy thing. Now, the question of a general coming into politics. Yes, you see, when you talk about George Washington and so on, we're really talking about civilian personalities who fought in the American War of Independence against British colonialism. It was a revolution. And the people who fought in that later became the leaders of the country. That's very different from somebody who has been a general, who's been a military man for 40 years, coming into or aspiring to the topmost civilian post in the country without any civilian experience whatsoever. Now, I've heard somebody mention General Charles de Gaulle. General de Gaulle spent World War II doing politics, giving political leadership to the Free French forces. He was based for the most part in London during that time. And General Eisenhower contested the elections in 1953, not 1945. He spent all that time, and one of the things he did was he headed the University of Columbia, which, as you know, you were telling me, you were talking before the program, is one of the top universities in the world. He didn't just remove his uniform in 1945 and say, look, I'm contesting the presidency. Now, I think that General Fonseca has been a wonderful army commander, a very good general. He played a very important role in the military victory. Historians can write about who played the more important role, the role of the Navy and the Air Force and so on. All that's fine. But he doesn't have a day's experience in any civilian administration. Now, I wouldn't mind seeing him in Parliament, because I think he has proved that he's a strong personality, he has political potential, he's already made a contribution, he's ventilating grievances, and I think that a couple of years in Parliament, if he's a strong parliamentary personality, he will be ready for a crack at the top job, maybe the next time around. But I'd like to remind you that even the most brilliant political leader in the world today, President Barack Obama, the former editor of the Harvard Law Review, professor specializing in the American Constitution at the University of Chicago, Barack Obama was 8 years a U.S. senator before he decided to run for the presidency. So you don't just, I mean, John Kerry, former Vietnam veteran, John McCain, Vietnam veteran, they spent a long time in civilian life gathering experience before they attempted to run for the presidency of their country. So I'm really not sure. I think that this is premature. It is premature also because we are being forced to make a choice that is not a fair one. Why should we have to choose between two people who made a contribution to our common cause? And if we are to choose General Fonseca, we would have to throw out the president who provided leadership politically to this war and did in 4 years what 4 presidents could not do in 30 years. Now, why would we want to deprive that kind of president of a second term? So I'm in that sense, I said I'm not very happy about the choice that we are faced with.
Yes, we are speaking to Dr. Dayan Jayathilake and you're watching Roundtable. So we've just touched on very crucial issues, starting from what was the fire in the belly of Dr. Dayan Jayathilake to make him what he was today, and then milestones in his life. We also touched upon his crucial contribution in the context of the United Nations Human Rights Council resolution that was passed just after the war ended. And also we touched upon the consequences of the statement made by the General, and also we were just speaking whether it is premature or not for the General to have entered the scene of politics and also attempt nothing but the presidency at that particular time. So that is a brief summary before we take a break and be with you. Welcome back. You're watching Roundtable and we are here today with Dr. Dayan Jayathilake. So Doctor, now moving on to the SLMC and the TNT, what can you tell about how the Muslim community now perceive and accept the SLMC, and the same with the TNT with respect to the Tamil community? What are your opinions on that?
Well, I was an admirer and a friend of Mr. M.H.M. Ashraf. I'm sad that he died, and I'm also sad that there's been nobody of his stature to take over the leadership of the SLMC. I worry about the relationship between ethnic groups, communities in Sri Lanka. I'm frankly out of touch with what's been happening in the East. I hope that some of the stories and the rumors that I hear of reasons for disaffection among the Muslim community are not true. I think that whichever government is in office in Colombo, it should be very sensitive to the feelings of the Muslim people of this country, and I hope that the SLMC will always find itself part of the political mainstream. I think it should have remained part of the governing coalition, whichever the governing coalition is, as did Mr. Ashraf. But right now I think it's in, well, everything is in the melting pot, isn't it, during the elections? We won't know what the real picture is until after the parliament elections. You were asking about the TNA, I believe. Now that is another story altogether. I'm a little worried about the TNA. Now, the TNA has not yet said a word of criticism about the Tigers. Not yet. Now, we know that during the war, it was virtually a proxy for the LTT. But, okay, now, let's say that was because of intimidation. I have yet to hear a critique of Prabhakaran, a denunciation of Prabhakaran by the TNA. I have yet to hear a denunciation of, say, the murder of Rajiv Gandhi, or President Premadasa, or Neelan Tiruchelvam, or Appapille Amithalingam, the last two being TULF leaders. I have yet to hear the TNA denounce the LTT for those murders. I have yet to hear the TNA say that any solution to the Tamil question in Sri Lanka has to be within Sri Lanka as one country, and therefore they have torn up the Vadukode resolution of 1976, which called for an independent, separate state. Now, I can understand why that resolution was passed in 76, but in 2010, I expect the TNA to rescind that resolution. I have not heard any of this. As I said, it's a very simple question. I still have to hear the TNA criticize the Tigers. If you ask the TNA, is it a good thing that Prabhakaran is dead, or a bad thing, I don't know what the answer will be. I would like somebody to ask the TNA, is it a good thing or a bad thing that the Tigers were militarily defeated? I don't know what the answer is. So, therefore, when the TNA takes a stand at a presidential election, I take it very seriously, because I know that behind it is the international Tiger movement. We have defeated the LTT army on the ground, on the soil of this island of Sri Lanka. But we saw, I particularly saw it in Geneva, 200,000